The new Linkin Park album, From Zero, doesn't come close to the magic that the band made with the late great Chester Bennington, but it's actually a worthy inclusion to the band's canon of albums and features some great, heavy, catchy Linkin Park songs that I really enjoyed. And I think, you know what, if we all keep an open mind, there's a lot to rock out to here and a lot to enjoy. Let's break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. From Zero is the 8th studio album from Linkin Park. It is the follow-up to 2017's One More Light. And the title From Zero is a reference to the band's original name from back in the day, which was Zero with an X, and it's also a reference to the start of a new chapter for the band. And this is Linkin Park 2.0, if that's what you want to call it, with some of the original band members in there, mixed with some new members, including a new drummer, Colin Britton, and new co-lead vocalist, Emily Armstrong. And I'm by no means a hardcore Linkin Park fan. I'd have to say I'm more of a casual fan. I've enjoyed the singles over the years, more so than the albums. But that being said, I've always really respected Linkin Park and their music and their devoted fan base. And I'm well aware of the controversy with the new co-lead vocalist, Emily Armstrong, which pretty much started right out of the gate when the band announced her as the new co-vocalist in place of Chester Bennington. And don't get me wrong, there is no replacing Chester Bennington. He was a one-of-a-kind person and a one-of-a-kind vocalist. And then there was the argument that Emily Armstrong shouldn't even be there. The band shouldn't call themselves Linkin Park. And of course, the Scientology controversy with Emily, that certainly didn't help things. This whole thing has been kind of a mess leading up to the release of this record. And you know what? I have to hand it to the band for working through the controversy and the negativity. They still went out on the road. They still launched their marketing campaign for this record. Again, I'm not a hardcore Linkin Park fan, but I don't fault them for wanting to continue as a band. I think Chester really wouldn't have had a problem with them continuing on. And using the name Linkin Park, I know some people aren't a fan of them continuing with the name, but I think it makes absolute sense for them to continue on with the name Linkin Park. This is the year 2024 where it's all about big IP, right? You have to have a recognizable brand name if you want to sell tickets, if you want to sell records in this day and age. And you know what? The name Linkin Park carries a lot of weight, so you have to go with what people know. So with all that said, is this new record, the 8th studio record from Linkin Park, worth a listen? For my money, the answer is yes. I have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this record from Linkin Park, From Zero. Like most, I wasn't really sure what to expect from a post-Chester Bennington Linkin Park record from this version of the band, but I was actually pleasantly surprised by the very strong songwriting on this album. And I think if you can keep an open mind, I know that may be hard for some of the Linkin Park fans who are adamantly against this new record and this new version of the band. I think if you just get past that and just enjoy the record for what it is, I think both casual and hardcore Linkin Park fans will find something to enjoy on this record. And Linkin Park is a band with a lot of big hits, a lot of recognizable songs. They wrote the book when it comes to new metal. So to write a record that stands among albums like Hybrid Theory or Meteora is a hard thing to do. And not to say that this is a record that is of the caliber of those classic Linkin Park albums, but it is a lot better than it has any business being. This is a very hooky, a very catchy, a very well put together record, and there is no shortage of catchy melodies and things to hold on to. And again, I know there is that serious controversy about the new singer Emily Armstrong and her ties to Scientology and other controversies, but I'm going to try and separate the art from the artist for just a minute and say that she sounds really fucking good on this record. I think that Emily Armstrong shows some incredible versatility as a vocalist on this record. She shows that she can scream with the best of them on songs like Casualty, and I don't even know what this title is, IGYEIH. It's never going to be Chester Bennington level. Of course, I feel like that's a caveat that I have to say for everything on this review. It's not going to be as good as Chester Bennington, but I think it's pretty solid, and I think she did a good job on this record. And then you have her showcase track on this record, which is Over Each Other, a song that I really, really liked. She has a cool range to her voice. She can do the soft stuff, but then she has a really nice nice grit to her voice when she leans in a bit more on certain parts of each song. Again, I gotta say it, she's not Chester Bennington, but those are extremely hard shoes to fill. But this song has a super strong melody, a super catchy chorus, which I really enjoyed, and it's really just better than I thought it would be.
All we are is talking over each other.
And Mike Shinoda sounds great on here as well. I really respect him as a vocalist and a songwriter and a producer, whether it be on tracks on here like Overflow with its Led Zeppelin When the Levee Breaks kind of drum beats, or on headline tracks like The Emptiness Machine or Cut the Bridge. He has really grown as a vocalist during his time as a solo artist, and that is reflected on here. However, for all the good songwriting on this record, there are some really blatant retreads of some classic Linkin Park songs on here, especially on songs like Two-Faced, which is essentially One Step Closer, part 2, right from the opening riff on this song to Emily's screaming breakdown in the middle. It's just one step closer all over again. Part of me thinks that it's really blatant and it's kind of just a ripoff of their own music, but at the same time, it's also cool that they can key into that old school Linkin Park sound, considering how far they've come as a band. And even on the single Heavy is the Crown, this sounds like a redo of the Linkin Park classic Faint, right down to the Mike Shinoda rapping, even though his rapping tends to be one note. He tends to kind of do the same kind of cadence and the same rhythm to his rapping on most of his tracks, and then you have some fake orchestral stabs on here. This is definitely the kind of song that you could hear Chester singing. There are a lot of moments on here when Emily Armstrong is singing where you could hear Chester Bennington singing on those songs. Again, I don't want to compare everything to Chester, but you can definitely hear him kind of coursing through the veins of this record. It's funny, when Linkin Park was first coming out in the early 2000s, when I was an angsty teenager, I wasn't really into that kind of music, but now I'm an angsty adult, and I can definitely relate and get into a lot of the themes and the lyrics on this album, and I felt it to be really strong in those regards as well. Mike Shinoda has always been a strong lyricist, and although we're missing the mark of Chester Bennington lyrically on this record, I think they did a decent job. And listen, I know that for a lot of Linkin Park fans, a lot of dedicated Linkin Park fans, you're not wrong out there. It's pure sacrilege to even consider listening to this album, supporting this version of the band, Linkin Park 2.0, as I call them. And I have to admit, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not a dedicated Linkin Park fan, and I really don't have the same relationship with the band as a lot of other people out there do. But I do think that this is a solid record. I thought it had a lot of really strong tracks. I thought it was really catchy. I thought it was really well done. The production and the performances were solid, and I think that it's a worthy addition to the Linkin Park canon of albums. And this one rocks too. There's some really heavy moments, some great riffs, some great rock out moments, some moments where both Mike Shinoda and Emily Armstrong really let loose on the vocals, and I think there's just some really great songs on here as well. It's got a great combination of all the elements that I enjoy in a good rock record. And as I said, I think if we all just have an open mind, we just open our minds and just take this record for what it is, we all might enjoy it a little bit more. And I think that From Zero is a good record. It's a good Linkin Park record, and I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 5. All right, guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of the new Linkin Park album, From Zero. If you're a hardcore Linkin Park fan or a casual fan, let me know what you thought of this new record. I really enjoyed it. If you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and make sure to follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music. But I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.